Honest talk today, my friends. Do I have any regrets in terms of buying Chinese cars in Australia over the past few years? As you know, if you've been my follower for a while, I've had quite a few of these, and today I'm going to talk you briefly through the whole journey to tell you exactly what losses I incurred along the way as I see them. Sometimes they're financial, sometimes they are psychological, sometimes they are both. So if you are on the market for a new car and you're considering a Chinese vehicle, perhaps different ways of buying it, cash versus not cash, I think this would be insightful for you. You do not have to think like I do, but you may be prone to falling for the same kind of pitfalls that I've encountered along the way. It would save you money. So give the video a like if this resonates. Today is a serious talk. Yeah, we're not just reviewing cars or translating. We are having an honest conversation, and let's talk about it. Okay. So I had a Jeep. We're going to talk about just kind of COVID times, just before COVID. I had a Jeep that I bought for a little over 50,000 Australian dollars. That was before COVID. I had it for 3 years. I loved it. But then I thought that this is 50 with a little bit thousand Australian dollars sitting there in the rain for 2 years as we were not driving around. We were in lockdown in Australia. That prompted the initial kind of thought that I would rather convert that into liquid cash, get something cheaper. There were some emergent brands on the market then. MG was exactly the one that was actually kind of having a bit of a foothold. The others were not so prominent back then. This expansion of Chinese brands on the market has happened actually over the past 3-ish years, 3-4 years perhaps. So my wife and I made a decision to sell our Jeeps and buy perhaps a cheaper but slightly more, at least perception-wise, luxurious leather salon, sunroof, electronics, not as rudimentary, and, you know, money a little bit back in hand. Long story short, so I'm only talking about my cars. She did the same thing with hers, but luckily not as many steps along the way. I sold my Jeep privately for pretty much the same money that I bought it for, which was amazing. That was the first corrupting thought back then. That was the first, not mistake back, well, it was a mistake actually, but not mistake psychologically back then, because I thought I got my money back. So I bought MGHS. MGHS cost me $36,000 when I bought it in 2021. It was a 2021 model. It was all that stuff that I talked about. Sunroof, new car feel, more money in hand, and that is the pleasant feeling. You made money back out of a depreciating asset. Yay, you have money to put towards your mortgage, to put towards whatever it is, which is exactly what we did. We bought an investment property back then, but that's a story unrelated to this channel entirely. Okay, so that effect was an effect of a win. That was good. Mistake number one that I made, and that you should keep an eye on, is that I kind of went along with the fact that my wife was buying this ZST. She liked this ZST, and I was at the car dealership with her, and I saw HS, and I thought, wouldn't it be nice and romantic to buy 2 MGs, as well as both consolidate, both get a little bit of money back. She gets a bit of money back, I get a bit of money back, and together we made like over 20,000 back, which was lovely at that point in time. So yes, so I bought a car that I liked, and I liked it for a short period of time for what it was, but my channel started back then, and I told you about stupid things about MGHS, how small the boot was, how horrible DCT transmission was, how horrible infotainment, at least of 2021 model was. I still stand by all of that kind of stuff, and I'm not going to repeat myself here. I bought the wrong car for myself. That is the biggest, the main tip. You need to buy the right car, and bear with me, it is not about Chinese versus Japanese versus American versus European. It is just a wrong car for you, for what you need, or for what I needed in terms of to satisfy me. Yes, some senses were satisfied with the nicer steering wheel with all this fanciness. But that's exactly how Chinese brands sell us the cars. They pack them with bling, they pack them with electronics, they pack them with the stuff that more rudimentary models, such as, say, Jeep, such as, say, I don't know, freaking Ford Falcon, but don't quote me on that. You know what I'm saying? They're selling the cars by giving you a lovely salon, not by doing anything else really. But again, this is not the verdict, bear with me. What did I do next? I realized that I want more space. I back then straight away thought that I'd like to do some car camping. I wanted more space. I wanted more of an SUV feel, and I wanted to sit higher on the road. All of those things that I always catch myself thinking every single time. That's why I got a Jeep in the first place, for God's sake. So I sold my MGHS privately and I bought LDV D90. I was still trying to squeeze into that smaller price bracket. I did not look for something that would increase the cost of the vehicle too much. So I sold that MG, I think, for something like 35. So I lost like $1,000. Back then it was still exit out of COVID. It was still okay. Okay, LDV D90. LDV D90 upon reflection was a good vehicle. It was a good vehicle. It was underpowered because I got the cheapest model. I got the 2-liter petrol. It was not a diesel. It was not a luxury. It was bottom of the range. But even bottom of the range, in all honesty, as far as the creature's comforts were concerned, it was okay. I think I said it in earlier LDV D90 reviews as well. I still stand by that. Infotainment, electronics, kind of, again, it sold itself to me because initially when you sit in the brand new car, there is a new car smell, there is this big screen. You kind of don't explore it properly. You don't explore things, and that's why you're watching these reviews. Hopefully they tell you something. But the infotainment was the worst I've seen in any Chinese vehicle that I've been in, and I've been in a few. Anyway, that's all solvable because there are screen systems, there is copyright, there is Ionon, there are Kapodgo, there are other things that are in the description of this video because these videos are sort of passively sponsored. Nobody gives me money, but occasionally brands send me different electronics, which they also give a discount code on, so you can benefit from it. Take a look at this. Second problem, compounding from the first one, was that I started catching myself thinking that LDV is not that known on the Australian roads, that it will depreciate horribly. I'd better get rid of it before it loses all the value. I'd better exchange it for something else. And what do? I do a problem number 3. I stay within the same depreciating market, perception-wise depreciating market, and I start looking while reviewing vehicles. Part of the problem was this channel because it exposed me to more vehicles. I don't blame the channel. I think it was a very good thing that happened to me. But in this case, fair is fair. That's what happened. And I started looking at GWM and I started looking at Haval. Haval H6 was SUV, but slightly smaller than LDV. It was relatively solidly built. There were a lot of Chinese reviews that I watched in translation that were kind of talking favorably about it. A lot of Russian reviews are translated about Haval, which were a bit skeptical from Klubny service, but anything that's not Toyota and that rusts in Russian salt-covered winter roads is skeptical from them. I don't blame them, but whatever. I bought myself a Haval H6. I sold LDV D90 for about 35,000. Again, kind of didn't lose much so far on the resales, but this is where the problem came. I sold LDV. I added a bit of money to buy Haval H6. I bought Haval H6 back then for 36,000 Australian dollars. That was extra 3 grand thrown on top of the money I got for selling LDV. And already the previous loss of 1,000, 2,000, something like that. So let's just round it up and say I already lost 5,000 Australian dollars at that point, selling, reselling, selling, reselling. Bought H6, kept it for a year. Longest probably after the MGHS that I had. Liked it. Watch my videos on the channel. Haval H6 is fine. Electronic lane keep assist system is horribly invasive. I still stand by this. I still cannot believe that GWM is so tone deaf that they are not listening to the customers and they are not allowing you to turn it off or at least tune the sensitivity freaking down. I sold HS because I thought that I am making a smart move by having an employer that was offering me novated leasing. Novated leasing means that they buy you a new car essentially, or pay for a new car that you found, and that you basically pay this lease, kind of renting the car from them long term, and it is deducted before your tax. So I thought I'm saving money. I knew that resale again will incur some loss, but mathematics is not precise in that point in time, even though I will hang my head in shame and say that I admit that the incoming loss, at least initial palpable loss, was visible to me, and I ignored that signal That is the final mistake for you not to make. Don't ignore simple math that I did. I was telling myself, Dmitry, in the longer term, 3 to 5 years, you will see benefit because Australian Taxation Office will tax you less on your salary because money will be taken out before tax. You're getting a new car. It's a Japanese car, as well as, so it will depreciate slower, as well as your total taxable income per year will be smaller, which it eventuated into that. I sold it for something crushing. I sold it for something like 26, which was a cliff. I fell off that cliff. Don't freaking do this to yourself. Don't do this crap that I did to myself, okay? That was the biggest mistake. So overall, my losses with reselling Chinese cars until I got into my Subaru were in about the ballpark of $15,000-16,000 probably. Other than this journey that I shared with a lot of you on this channel, and other than learning, and other than sampling different cars, other than getting the dopamine hit of getting a new car smell, yet another new car smell, I got into this pattern of exchanging cars without admitting that the market conditions have changed, especially at the latest point in time when I sold and exchanged my Haval H6. Think. As long as you need to think, watch my videos, watch others' videos, think, go into different dealerships, test drive cars. Make sure that you're buying the right car for you. Do not worry about them being Chinese. Yes, they're cutting corners, some corners. This MG ZST, the biggest cut corner, were softer alloys in the brakes, for example, and the brakes gave up at 20,000, and there is a video on my channel. Sometimes electronics is a little more glitchy than I've ever seen in a Japanese car. Sure. But it's still decent quality, it's good quality, and technically speaking, if my MG HS that we bought at the same time on the same day as this very car, if it was the right car for me, for my lifestyle, for what I want from a car, big boot, more of an SUV, I should have freaking kept it. I would have kept it and it would have been fine. Still, that is where all the problems started stemming off. Exchange, not right, loss. Novated leasing is a completely different cup of tea, which makes sense under some circumstances, but my personal journey was as painful as all hell. Hopefully this gives you some food for thought, maybe pauses your decision of putting deposits on cars. If I just succeeded at that, I've done my job for the day, okay? And this job, by the way, in case you're too worried about me getting rich of you, my friends, with this handful of views that I'm getting these days, pays for a coffee occasionally. That's all it does. Anyway, as you can see, it brings up some pretty sad memories. This is cathartic for me, acknowledging this in front of my audience, but also hopefully teaches you something, because that's always what this channel was about. It's an outlet, but at the same time, I'm sharing some valuable information with those who are willing to listen. Thanks for being with me. Hopefully you learned something. Give the video a like before you go and subscribe for more from me. Every week, we're talking about something new. Goodbye for now.